Welcome to the What is Smart podcast. We dive deep into the ever-evolving world of intelligence, learning, and success. Join us as we engage with leading educators, psychologists, technologists, and thinkers, unraveling insights and challenging old notions. From EQ to creativity, from tech savviness to social awareness, What is Smart is your guide to understanding intelligence in the 21st century. Let's change education together. What's going on, everybody? It's Garrett here from What is Smart. What is Smart is brought to you by the Gardens Foundation, www.thegardensfoundation.org. I'm going to put it here, and I'm out of breath. I don't know. Did I install an AC unit at one of my schools today? The answer is yes. However, shifting on, the Gardens Foundation is doing amazing work to change education on the ground for learners. There's amazing innovation going on there, guys, out there, guys. It's all in silos, and we need to pull that together. We need to materialize that on the ground for students, and that's what we do. And as such, we need help. And Garrett, are you asking the folks for money? The answer is yes. Go to the website, www.thegardensfoundation.org. You can donate there. You can also find merch, great merch. There's shirts that say What is Smart, hoodies, hats. Great topic to start at parties. So guys, visit the website. And today we've got an excellent guest. Her name's Angela Maiers. We're going to see you soon.
Okay.
Is it Maiers?
Maiers. Yes. Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Second intro. All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to What is Smart, folks. We are here to explore the I'm going to do that again. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to What is Smart, where we explore the future of learning and innovative minds shaping education today. Our guest, Angela Maiers, is a true leader, visionary, entrepreneur, love that, disruptor, also love that, and change maker with over 31 years of experience creating and leading change in education and enterprise. Angela's passion, commitment, and fierce determination are unparalleled. She's taught every level from grade school to graduate school and consulted with companies around the world, helping them ignite change and spread hope through the science and practice of mattering. Angela is a sought-after keynote speaker known for her outspoken and passionate advocacy, love that, for innovative education balanced with her down-to-earth style. She's the author of 8 books. Let's just pause on that. Author of 8 books, including Genius Matters, Classroom Habitudes, and The Passion-Driven Classroom. Her work inspires readers and educators with lessons and ideas for passion projects, mattergrams, and more. We're going to learn about that. Join us as we delve into Angela's transformative ideas and discover how to make epic things happen in education. Welcome, Angela, to What is Smart. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. I could not be more excited and more honored. I love this organization. I love the topic. And we should be talking about this. Like, what is learning? Sounds so simple. What is smart? Sounds so simple, but profound conversations and conversations we should be having every day in education.
And the funny thing is like, we talk with really awesome people just like yourself. We've talked with Harvard's Project Zero. We've talked with all kinds of really amazing folks. Zero. It's such a great mission, but it's so interesting because what you expect to be such a heady conversation with such smart people, such well-versed people, experienced people in this industry, it really comes down to these major, simple questions. What is smart? What is work? What is life? As we go into a day and age of AI and all of these things that are going to already transforming really everything about how we live our daily lives. And so, Angela, we like to jump right into it. I would love to learn a little bit about, I know you said 31 years. I have 23. No, I'm up now. 25. I'm sorry, 25
Actually,
years.
I need to update my website because I'm up to 34 years. So
wow, that's amazing. So talk a little bit up to our viewers and listeners about that journey and how, you got from little Angela growing up wherever, don't know. We're going to find out.
Small town Iowa.
How did you get from the corn to education?
So let me, because my brain is always going. And so what those questions that you were talking about, Have you ever read the book A Beautiful Question by Warren Berger? It's
No, but I'm
incredible.
going to.
The definition of a beautiful question is it's actionable and moves change forward. Those are actionable questions that should move change forward. My favorite as of late, beautiful question is, why do you exist? Why do you
Yes.
exist? And we make such a big deal about
Yes.
that. But if we don't answer that question, both as individuals and as our profession, why does education exist? And be really clear on that, our why. Nothing else matters after that. We're just doing things and being busy and staying in motion without any sense of why we exist and who we serve. Not at a surface level, like, oh, we serve children, we love children. Well, actually, the way that we serve children, does that interface with why we exist? And I have a very clear definition of why education exists. So, yes, we can do that later. Or
I
or I can
love
share it
that.
now. Yeah.
No, that's please continue. I think that's
Yeah.
just an interesting question. And
Yep.
two, like the root of exactly what you're saying, which is
Yes.
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
So, my background's neuroscience and linguistics. So I love words and the science of words. And if you look at the root word of educate, it means to lead out, to bring forth. Now, think about how our schools are structured. From the past, you didn't go to school to discover what it is you need to bring forth to the world. Why you exist is the question that every human being must answer. You don't simply exist, you exist for a reason. You can call that your calling, your purpose. I call it your genius, whatever you want to call it. But we're not just here to take up space, we are here for a purpose. And the people that lead not the most successful lives, because success in some ways is the enemy of significance,
And
because
so
we
subjective,
think,
right? Like
yes,
so subjective.
absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't guarantee fulfillment. It does not guarantee that you won't look back on your life and feel emptiness. And so people who know and live their existence, whether they make a lot of money or whether they're famous or no one knows about them, they die happy. Not just happy, that's not the right word. They die fulfilled. They live a life where they feel satisfied and congruent and not always in a competition with themselves or what the world needs to think. And that's the foundation of mattering. So everyone that we lead and serve matters, exists for a reason. This is not just a warm, fuzzy statement. This is biology. Genius is our birthright. So if our mission, why education exists, is true to the word, then we should be looking at every child with the challenge and charge of helping them identify why they exist and bringing that forth to the world. So we are the exact opposite. And that's the part of education.
Exactly. I was going to
Absolutely.
say intra
Yeah.
and interpersonal skills, I think is just
Yeah.
self-awareness.
Yes.
Um, I think that's where matters starts, right? Is
Yes.
self-awareness, is building a foundation of empowering children to be self-aware. Because I think for
Yes.
some, that inner voice is strong. And I think some is
Absolutely.
natural. But I also think that for some, that inner voice, if you will, that purpose, that drive,
Yeah.
that biggerness, if you will, than
Yes.
just you being in a meat vessel
Right.
going about in the world. Um, I think that can be also taught through embodying of, maybe skills, patterns, things like that to
Absolutely.
build those skills. And I would love to
Yes.
hear your kind of thoughts around that in schools and more so where we see the change happen first, which is in leadership with educators and leaders across
Absolutely.
the country. Talk to me a little bit about your movement of putting matterness into the
Yep.
world and mattering
Yep.
into the world, because again, it might sound like we're saying simple words, guys, but the
Yeah.
power, like
Big.
Angela said, the power of these simple words, we fought wars over simple
A
words.
hundred
Let's
percent.
remember that.
A
So they
hundred
can
percent.
also have the power to do good. So talk to us a little bit about this movement.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to define mattering first because it's often misunderstood as just an inspirational statement. And that's okay. I mean, it's not, bad if you tell somebody they matter, but to really understand our existence and our ability to live a joyful, fulfilled, satisfied, impactful life, which is the dream of every teacher, of every parent, of every human being. You don't want to look back at your life. You have to go to our first breath, to the biology, the science of mattering. So the first instinct that we have as human beings when we enter the world is to matter. It's actually called the mattering instinct. So when infants come out, in order to thrive, the first thing they do is they twist their neck in a certain way, and they are looking for someone to acknowledge their existence in the world. If we do not, if that child doesn't get their existence acknowledged, I am here, I matter, I need acknowledgement of that, then they fail to thrive. And some really treacherous studies, they literally fail to thrive to the moment of not thriving at all. So if you think about that, before we seek food, before we seek water, before we seek love, belonging, all those other things that contribute to the human condition, our first instinct is to matter.
Wow.
Now that instinct does not ever go away. So if you fast forward, you mentioned Harvard, to Harvard's longest longitudinal study, when we look back at our lives, it was our last thought wasn't, did we achieve XYZ at work? Did we get that promotion? Did we get accolades for XYZ? It is a reflection on our relationships. And our existential question is, did I matter to the people who mattered to me? So from the first breath until literally biologically the last breath, that drive to matter is underlying every decision we make. Even though that 99% of the decisions are unconscious, we need to matter. It is a biological instinct. We need to feel seen and acknowledged as a human. We need to be heard. We need to feel valuable, that we are, that we have something that someone else recognizes and acknowledges is valuable. And the deepest driver of human behavior is to be needed by another person. And so that's the rub on mattering that is really important and speaks directly to why schools have it backwards and why they will always struggle to their peril if they don't create these two conditions. So for a human being to matter, there are two inseparable conditions. The first is the self-awareness part. They need to understand that they exist for a reason and that they have value and that they have something the world or people in the room need. The second condition is to share that value, to be counted on, to be depended on, to be essential to another person. And they're a cyclical, almost self-fulfilling prophecy, because so many people in the system and culture they grew up in don't believe they are enough, don't believe their existence is significant, don't believe they matter. They fail to contribute their unique value to other people, which then in turn gives you no parameter to make sure that, because that's the way we know we matter. When someone else says to us, I couldn't have done that without you. I'm so glad you're coming. I cannot believe that we did this together. You were indispensable. That is the driver. To hear the words, I need you. You specifically for exactly what you have and only you can deliver. That's not an ego thing. That is how we gain a life of significance. It is not, you can't matter in a bubble, which is, it speaks to personalized learning as well, because the reason you need to have personalized learning is to figure out what your unique we call it in the business world, your unique value proposition is. What is it that you do, that you know, that you've experienced, that you have worked through, that someone else in the room or the world needs? When you look at young children, they live this instinct out unabashingly, unapologetically. They walk into the classroom as a former preschool kindergarten teacher, and what is the first thing they do? You're standing at the door, you're greeting them, and you better have what Ben Zander calls smiling eyes. You better light up when you see them, because they light up. When a human being is seen, they light up biologically. And then they stand in front of you and wait. And what are they waiting for? They wait for you to notice something on them. So I used to tell this story with my kindergartners. I'd wait outside, and this little girl, Anna, she stood in front of me, and she's like so disgusted at me. She goes, "Did you not understand? I have a barrette. I switched it to this side. And yesterday my barrette was on this side. And you didn't even see it. You just walked right past it." So they demand to matter. They demand to be seen. They demand to be heard. But the glue of a kindergarten classroom, of a community, of the world and the web is being asked to contribute to something that is bigger than just your own fulfillment. So in my kindergarten classroom, we had all these jobs, but the most coveted job of all was the milk crate carrier, because so when you went in and at 5, you get to choose, do you want chocolate milk or white milk? You got to fill that out. It's like a big decision. Do I want white milk or chocolate milk? And you get to have that. So the carrier has the weight of that count in their hand. Like, they have to be accountable because kids are waiting for their milk at snack. So they take this little crate. They get to pick someone else in the room that is equally trusted, equally counted on. The whole room is counting on them, and they get to walk down a corridor where the milk freezer was, and they get to do that all by themselves. And literally, they would do anything. They would never screw up that job. They would never be naughty, because so many people are counting on them. And it's a really big deal, like the count of white milk and chocolate milk in preschool and kindergarten. So people step up, they stand up, they are their best selves when they are called upon and, more importantly, counted on. So when you look at the structure of school, what percentage of kids' day is about figuring out the contribution that they have that's going to make the most impact?
And I
Do they
think,
get a chance to share their genius?
yeah, I was going to say that's why things like project-based learning as an approach
Right.
always
Right.
help to reflect
Yes. Yes.
the child. Or, and this is where self-awareness comes in, because I really do agree with you that the path in learning should be do anything and everything that you can to find what you absolutely love,
Absolutely.
and then find out how that can help people.
Yes.
And there's your purpose. Like,
That's it.
I think school should be structured as such. And I think project-based learning has such a profound impact, because if you look
Yeah.
at it just as like a meta structure,
Yep.
that could really mean anything. And imagine if kids get to middle school, high school,
Yep.
where they're really starting to have those
Yeah.
relationships with people, and more refined relationships. Imagine that you start
Yeah.
crafting these real life situations, and then how these kids. But I think what we call out here is in a workforce now, because the
Yep.
school system's flipped, that has seen
Yep.
a mass exodus of
Yes.
educators. What we're talking about right now is
Yes.
a further requirement, right, of educators to be keen observers,
Yes.
to, I'm a Montessori teacher at
Yes.
heart, and I taught
Yes.
Montessori
Me
for many
too.
years. And so, like, I look at it from that lens
Yes.
of being that documentation,
Yep.
analyzing the data, staying out as much as possible
Yes.
to allow for kids to thrive, and then be
Yes.
able to pick up on those moments.
Absolutely.
I think we ask again a further requirement of educators. However, the need for better educators, and I don't say better as like this
No,
statement of
I know
people
exactly what
out,
you mean.
come down to self-awareness, right? If we
Yes,
teach self-awareness, there might be,
yes,
meaning, let's say you consult school districts, which I know you do.
yep,
If you're teaching self-awareness from top down, right? Almost
yep,
like the only dictatorship method that should happen
yeah,
in schools, right? Like you're then teaching maybe even educators to realize that, hey, this ain't it for
right,
me. And I think
right,
while we'll feel a pain point now in
yep,
this exodus, there will be a rebirth because learning will be redefined.
yes, it already
And
has
so,
been. Yes,
yeah, and I think educators will have much more meaningful experiences with
yes,
learners if
yes,
these chains and shackles of state standards,
yep,
of SAT scores, is still so heavily, used within school systems across the country.
yep,
I think, like you said, I love your positivity and, disruptorship, if you will, of
mm,
like, of it's already happened. And you're right, like it
yes, it
happened
is.
years
It's
and years
happening
and years ago.
100%.
And now it's time for us to catch up. And I think
Yep,
by us, I mean society and really the United States, because you were telling me that you had spent
yes,
some time in Finland,
yep,
even checking out some of their education programs. And talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, Finland,
yeah.
if you look at the stats are
Finland and
clear,
Portugal. Yeah,
right?
both of them. Yes.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about those differences that you
Yeah,
noticed.
absolutely. I want to comment on what you said about like that the workforce is changing, that the world is changing. So the statement that drives the mindset statement, the behavior statement, the call to action statement that drives all of my work sounds so simple, but it's so profound. It is you are a genius and the world needs your contribution. And so when I share that with an auditorium of 4 and 5 year olds, how many of them raise their hand?
Probably not a lot.
Every single one at
Oh,
4 and 5. If I
Oh, yeah,
say
yeah,
to
yeah,
a
yeah.
4 year
Mhm.
old, you are a genius and the world, they will not only believe it, they will tell you what their genius is. They'll be like, well, I'm a dancer. Not only their genius, but the genius of everyone in the classroom. They know, well, I'm a dancer, but you've got to talk to Nick if you want to do art. And you know what? So and so is a dinosaur expert, and you need to. There is no jealousy in genius. They are very clear
Ooh,
on who they
love that.
are and what they embody. And they see it as a moral obligation to share that because they know that someone else in the room needs exactly what they have. So contribution drives their ability to become better, become expert, if you will. Asking a 5 year old to hold in what their remarkable qualities are, they physically burst. Like they're like
I was just gonna
sitting
say,
and they're
yeah.
like, they can't do it. And it isn't out of hubris or ego. It is out of a moral obligation to contribute, to be of service to someone else. So, because I've
Well, and
done
I
this,
think too,
oh, go
like
ahead.
I was just gonna say it highlights that kids are born with, and I
Yes,
misunderstood
born.
the initial
Yes, born.
question. I got
Yes,
it
yes.
so wrong, and
I
I was
knew
like, oh
you.
wait,
No, no,
what are we talking
no,
about?
no.
So, what I was going to say is it also highlights the initial intrinsic motivation to learn that children are born with,
Yes,
right? Like
yes,
that there is
yes,
that flame so strong
yes,
in their heart to
absolutely.
put their matter into the world, to put their
Yes,
purpose into the world,
yes.
and how that gets squashed out. So anyway, continue.
And
I
to
apologize.
help others do the same, not to hoard and try to outdo each other. If you think about one of the core structures in a kindergarten preschool classroom is show and tell. If you think of the scientific sophistication of show and tell, it is, it is all the lessons that every business and every person in the world needs to know because so many people bigger than five get it wrong at mass scale. It takes huge self-awareness to be excited about and fully participating in show and tell. So you bring your remarkable thing about you, about your life, your experience in your backpack. You're sitting in a circle with 30 other people who also took time to think about their remarkable thing. You have to listen to 29 other people. And you would never, ever want to outshine if somebody else bought a truck or somebody else bought this. You don't outshine. You contribute your unique element of it. Because the goal in show and tell isn't to outshine and outdo your neighbor. The goal is at recess for somebody to come up to you and say, tell me more, show me more, teach me more. So now you take that to the web, to the world, where 99% of people and brands are not self-aware. They're showing and telling everything. Look at me, look at me, look at me, trying to buy attention. When if they listened, they would know how to use their unique, remarkable backpack to serve. And the people that do that, the brands that do that, the organizations that do that, the humans that do that are not only out of the league of other people, are absolutely content and satisfied and fulfilled, because those are biological needs. Whatever we have in our backpack, our life backpack, our genius backpack, it is not meant to stay in there. It is meant to serve. It is meant to uplift, to help. And that's not just a nicety. That's our biological urge. And when we're not useful to people, or when we are told that we're not unique and useful, which teachers are told all the time, some book can do it better, some script can do it better, somebody at the State Department who hasn't seen a kid for 20 years can do it better. Teachers start losing their truth. They start losing the fact that they are the indispensable one in the classroom, not because of what they know, because of what they see and what they can point out and what they can bring forth in a way that no one in a book that somebody wrote in some office that has a script that does not speak to kids at all can do. And once teachers know that they are indispensable, then we are not replaced by AI. We're not replaced by just anyone else. So I use the example, like trying to help kids and teachers understand what indispensability means. It doesn't mean you are the best in the world, or that even you're trying to be the best. It means that if you were replaced, it would be an entirely different experience. So think of your favorite performer. Think of like your favorite singer, your favorite TV star. And when they show up, and let's say, so this just happened a little bit ago, Stevie Nicks, she's not my favorite, but I like her, but Stevie Nicks was in Denver, and she got sick, or somebody on our staff sick. So everybody's got their copy, everything, and they're out there, they're chanting for Stevie Nicks, and somebody comes out and says, we have a replacement band that will be singing Stevie Nicks' song. It's her understudy, but she's unable to be here tonight, and we're willing to refund or whatever. People went nuts. They're still talking about it. They're still screaming about it, because Stevie Nicks is not replaceable, even if the person sings. I want teachers to understand they are not replaceable. And the moment we give in to the cog-like system, where I walk in classroom A, B, C, and they're saying the same thing on the same day, then we are outplacing ourselves for our most identifiable, indispensable quality. We cannot give up that power that we have, that no one else has with our kids. And that is not ego, that is service. That is knowing why you exist.
I was going to say too, is like, for those educators out there that struggle with your own kind of self-awareness and the why that you're even doing this, like for those educators out there, isn't the one child that would say that you are unreplaceable, that you are bound to make that connection with, isn't that enough? Like, to me, the power of an educator is that you can do that at scale. And if you're a good educator, you can think about what worked and use those wins and losses, more so the losses, to learn and further connect and build upon that child. You know, I always think about, going back to what you had said initially in the show, is I always think like the mentality should be live life for who's going to show up at your funeral.
Absolutely.
Like how many people and the stories that they will tell. Like And that comes down to, educators that are really in it and are kind of pushed down in this system that we're talking
Yeah,
about
totally.
currently, right? Like, try in your mindset to go back to something very simple, that for
Yep.
one child, you are unreplaceable.
Absolutely.
There will never be another Mr. Greenberg in my
Absolutely.
life. You know
Ever,
what I mean?
ever, ever.
Ever.
Right. And
And
none of that.
ultimately look at I was just going to say the how that echoes
Oh,
in
decades.
generations. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Decades. And we give that up so freely. And that goes back to, we don't believe we're enough. We don't believe we matter because we're told this program can do it better. This thing can do it better. This, computer can do it better. We're giving up all of our power and contributing to our powerlessness when we are the most powerful force in that classroom. We are
Amen.
absolutely the most powerful force because we have the ability to make a child understand how valuable they are. When I view like my funeral, I want all of my former students to come and start talking and then start bragging. I was her favorite student. I was her favorite student. Every child should think they're your favorite student. And when you do that, to me, that's a litmus test, is that when they feel, because they show up different when they know they matter to you. We show up different to the world when we know we matter and we are needed. We will, I mean, just have to read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and you can see what conditions we can endure, what atrocities we can endure, and we can survive it if we are needed by even one other person. And our kids need us. Our kids absolutely need us more than they need that computer program, more than they need you to be perfect in content, more than they need. Kids don't need perfection, they need presence. And right now, because of all the programs, because of all the
Yes.
initiatives, because of all of that, we're becoming less and less present in their life. Read this, fill this out. Read this, go look on the computer. Put a headphone on and go do this. And we are allowing ourselves to not be as needed. We're becoming managers, like we're managing behavior and we're managing content and we're managing assessment. And that is not what education is about. We're leading out nothing. We're leading them into non-self-awareness, as you're
No, and
talking
I
about.
and I was just
Yeah,
going to say that as technology advances and things like
yeah,
AI push forward, the need for us to define what is human
yes,
will be
yes.
and is
So
so
critical.
important, and so important
Absolutely.
to push forward, because like you said, like, I almost think, and this is the kind of structure
Yes,
that we look at when with my AI company, is how can we leverage AI to do those things that, like,
right.
are are
It
what,
could be
the
outsourced.
assessments, the all of that stuff,
Absolutely.
so that education can be this natural
Yes.
experience
Yes.
where you're, I always love the Socratic method of, like,
Yes. Yes.
inspiring curiosity, and that
Yes.
being the,
Absolutely.
and how important wording and questions are.
Yep.
The best questions, like you said, in my mind, spark other questions.
That's right.
And, I think that ultimately is what, and even in the research that we're doing, soft skills, all of that, the
Yes.
report card's got to be flipped. That little section
Yes.
where it says
100%.
manages behavior well,
Yes.
that has to be,
Absolutely.
flexed out to a million different things, so we can
Yes.
really, how cool would it be for a child to review their portfolio of work rooted in them
Yes.
as a person, right? And their
Yes.
impact in the world and their meaningful connections, no matter whether that's one person, whether that, because
Right.
we're right after this actual podcast, I'm going to the Special Education Advisory Committee for Loudoun County Public Schools, which is
Oh,
right down
yes.
the road,
Yes.
and
Yes.
advising them on building out a special needs
Yes.
center and neurodiversity center. But even there, there's a lot we can take from empowering learners to be authentically who they are,
Yes.
in the
Yes.
application of looking at learners from a top scale of not just
Yep.
neurodiverse but everyone's neurodiverse,
Yes.
right? And so if
Absolutely.
we can look at education as that broad, it can truly be such a powerful thing for a child to have an education that speaks to
Yes.
it's almost like saying, without being spiritual, their soul, right? Like,
Absolutely.
we need to
Yes.
be working their
Yes.
spirituality. And no,
Yes.
guys, I'm not out there saying like a
No,
specific religion. What I'm saying
absolutely.
is self-awareness
That's right.
spawns this
Yes.
gray area of nuance,
Yes.
of soul,
Yes.
right? Of
Yes.
inner voice. And
Yes.
so developing that inner voice and developing the ability for a child to, you said it earlier,
Yep.
you better have a smile when a child comes in. Well,
Absolutely.
you better take that super seriously too, is because
Yep.
that child is looking, like you said, and it's so important, the message you're spreading,
Yes.
because it's so simple yet so profound, like you had said
Yes.
before,
Yes.
is you know really allowing a child to light up in the
Yes.
classroom is giving them need within the
Yes.
classroom. The
Yes.
best management of behavior in the
Right.
classroom is
Right.
to give a kid a job. Like,
Yes.
yeah, give
100%.
and
Yes.
give this kid an
Responsibility.
exact, and then, like you said, go behind them and be like, I've never seen a
Yes.
child sweep like that.
Absolutely.
Whoa. And
So,
then you're boosting them up. You're giving them
yes.
self-awareness. You're giving
Yes.
them proper ego
Absolutely. Absolutely.
boost,
No one is motivated by entitlement. And we have a lot of entitlement
Ugh,
mindset
yes.
programs, like these poor kids, these families over here, let's give them this, I'm not saying you don't need support if you're struggling. People are driven and motivated to rise up when they are needed, when something they have is pointed out and brought forth to showcase to them that they are needed, and to get out of their own head, to get out of the narratives they were. Every single person has something that someone in the room or the world needs. Everyone, unequivocally. It is our birthright. That has to be the foundation of what the experience of school is like. So
Yes.
I in one of the books I wrote, I interviewed all of these innovative companies from the perspective of recruitment, talent retainment, culture, all of that. So Zappos, FedEx, Google, Starbucks. So when I pulled all that data together, it is none of it is a surprise, and yet and they don't keep any of it a secret. So that's the other thing. Not only is genius not jealous, genius shares so that someone else can find a pathway to their
Mm,
own unique value proposition. Starbucks doesn't hide what its secret is. Disney doesn't hide. And yet, what other coffee company competes with Starbucks? There is none. There is none. Because the other companies take a little piece of this and a little piece of that, and they think, oh, that's so nice to have. Where companies like Disney, Ritz-Carlton, Starbucks, all Zappos, all of them, that isn't a nice to have. That is the oxygen of our business. That is a
that's right.
need to have. And it is so fiercely, like at Zappos, they do not fire anyone. They pay people to quit if they don't find their way in the community. So that is what we're not doing. We're it's just, so Jim Collins says it's common sense does not equal commonplace and common practice. So all of these things in the science of mattering, in the soulfulness of education, common sense. We know a teacher like that. We've seen a classroom like that, but it is not common practice. If you went into schools today and you asked yourself, are kids' eyes smiling? Are their souls smiling? Are teachers running to school? So I did a large study with South by Southwest like 8 years ago, and we asked 500,000 kids, K-12, 500,000 kids, one question: what would make you run to school on your worst day? What would make you run to school? Then we did it in the business community, the largest employee engagement community. We asked the same thing. You put the list up, biologically exact, some different wording, but exact. So if you answer that and you summarize all of the elements, it is very simple. I need to matter. When I feel seen, when I feel heard, when I feel trusted, when I feel challenged, when I feel helped, when I feel indispensable, when I feel brave, you can put a ring of fire and I will jump through that. And that's why you saw the mass exodus during the pandemic, because human beings at scale for the first time got a break from the world to reflect on these existential, biologically driven questions. Does the work I do, is it fulfilling? Not do I make a lot of money? Not am I at a level of rank and prestige, but I do I find meaning in that work? Do I find value? Do I find I'm bringing my best self to it? Because the thought of not would, no. So what did they do? They quit. They quit. And even after the quiet quitting, and they sort of realized, oh, I can't afford to quit, they did what was called the oh God, what was that called? Maybe that's the quiet quitting. It was the Great Resignation. So the Great Resignation was first, where I'm like, I'll go drive Uber and be a happy, fulfilled person. I'm not going to be miserable. I'm not going to give my heart and soul when nobody at work cares. I'm just another employee. The quiet quitting was, I'm going to come and I
And
am
do bare
physically here,
minimum.
but
Yep.
and they're blatant about it. How many kids do you see in classrooms that have quiet quit education? I am here. How many teachers? I exist. I'm going to go through the motions. There are conditions that can change that we refuse in education to take seriously. The world is taking mattering seriously. The Surgeon General a year and a half ago said that the fate of the world overall health and wellness, not just your physical health, but your ability to say, I am living my most secure, faithful, soulful life. Mattering was one of four tenets, and he named it. And so I have this list of all of the major publications in business: Harvard Business Review, Forbes, from Scientific America to all the way down, have exact studies and articles on the role of mattering in the workforce. The only institution or organization that does not take mattering seriously as a necessity is education, where we are in charge of the bringing forth human beings that know they matter and are ready to contribute their unique value proposition to the world. And we are graduating kids that don't know who they are. We have the most lost generation right now that I've ever seen, my children included,
Yeah.
because we've never allowed them to figure out what they're remarkable. We define remarkable in school as your ability to placate to some authority, your ability to recite and remember what some authority who isn't contributing to the world beyond their bubble, that is success. And that is not how the workforce defines success. They don't care about what you did in a bubble. They don't care. They want to know, do you show up confident, knowledgeable, aware of who you are, and know exactly how you will be of value to them? You have to, what Seth Godin calls, pitch yourself. You are not selected based on where you went and what you know. You have to show how what you have and what you do uniquely contributes to the overall mission of the company, the organization, or your team. And we don't have kids
Amen.
that can do that. We don't.
No.
Except the positive news is, I'm going to rechange my statement. We do have kids who know how to do that. They are 3, 4, and 5. And if
Yep.
we do not switch this up and get this foundation solid, by the time they are 8, this is Harvard Project Zero, they're going to lose 70% of what I call their habitus, which are the things you're talking about: self-awareness, courage.
Yep.
They are mindsets and habits. They've lost half of it. They'll be dormant.
And that's where
So
we are. Yeah. No,
yeah,
fully
yeah,
agree. And I wish we had, we try to keep the podcast to about
I know,
30,
I know.
45
People are
minutes.
gonna
Like
be, oh,
no, 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 no.
I way broke that rule.
No, no, no. And there's definitely going to be another podcast with you on
Yes,
because,
perfect.
we just iced the surface there.
Yes,
But I have to ask you, like we ask everyone,
yes,
the big question, which
yep,
is in your journey, in your experience,
yes.
what do you think smart is?
Mm. I think smart is understanding that question. Why do I exist? And how am I going to use that to live a life that matters? I was born for a reason. I exist to make an impact. And I'm going to use my unique ability to do that every day for the rest of my life, from my first breath in the morning to my last breath. Will I make mistakes? Absolutely. Will I not live I used to say live, show up your best self. I'm saying show up your true self. Be
Yes.
okay with telling people that I am going through this right now, but I'm trying and I'm still here and I see you. The world doesn't not only they don't want perfection. They want authenticity and they want presence and they want someone fully engaged and ready to contribute, mistakes and all. So that's what SMART is. It is a
Yes.
human being, it is an organization that knows who they are in their soul and knows that gift in their backpack, that remarkable thing that makes them that makes you, that makes me, is there not to stay tucked away, hidden and shifted because somebody else might not like it. It is there because there's somebody that needs exactly that. And when you meet them in your path, when they show up, you'll be ready. You'll be ready because that's what you need to show up smart in the world. And showing up smart in the world is being ready for somebody that will cross your path that needs exactly what you have.
That will make
And
you
yes,
unreplaceable. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like,
yes.
I think that's such a powerful
And it
statement.
doesn't
And
have to be big. It doesn't have to be big. That's the beautiful thing about mattering. Anybody can do it anywhere with anyone in a matter of seconds. We hold this power in our hands and our heart to literally change the state of anyone at any time based on how we view them, how we see them, and how we are in their presence. We need
it's
each other and we
it's
need to be
so
there for each
true.
other. Yep.
And parents, I think if you're listening out there,
Yeah.
and a lot of educators are parents, worrying so much about, and
Yes.
there are so many people that do, worrying so much about grades and performance and only
Yes. And
rewarding
what
performance.
college
And
you're going to get into. Yeah.
start, because I think Angela and I see the future, and the future
Yes.
is
It's
going to
here.
be vastly different
Yes.
in the expectation of that. So start thinking
It's
about,
different now. It's different
yeah,
now.
and
Yes.
empower your kids to
Yes.
understand why they matter and to understand
Absolutely.
themselves and to focus in and
Yes.
ask questions, remain curious, all of that. I
Yes.
think you have nailed it. And what an awesome, we call it just an absolute banger of an episode.
That's
Um,
awesome. I
I
have
think that,
one little announcement because
sure,
I'm
sure.
so proud of this. Um, with that mission to do that is to get as many conversations happening at home and very early on in school about this very complex scientific topic of mattering and to not whitewash it and to be able to articulate the principles and practices of mattering from a very early stage. I kept thinking, what is the best methodology? And I worked with Seth Godin for a year and a half, and he
Wow.
took the concepts that he preaches and lives by, and he created a picture book called B is for Vulnerability. And it was so brilliant because it evened the field and invited more into the conversation. So that inspired me to write M is for Mattering. And so I just finished it. My son did the digital, he's a creative digital. He did the illustrations in it, and I literally just finished it this week. And I want it in every parent's hands so that they can talk about these things that that really will define not your kid's success, but your kid's significance, which is way different. And again, that's your goal for them to leave this world looking back and say, did I matter? You bet I did. And here's how I know, because I've been doing
Oh,
it since I was 4.
I love that. And speaking of which,
Yeah.
calling out your new book, congratulations. That's
Yes,
amazing. I
I'm
can't wait
so
to read it.
excited.
Where
Yes.
can everybody find what you're doing the best? We always like to give you the opportunity to share
Yes,
with our audience where they
absolutely.
can find you.
So I'm at Angela Maiers on everything. And if you forget how to spell my last name, because it's weird, Maiers, just type in Angela You Matter and you'll get to all my stuff. My Facebook and Instagram were hacked and my identity is being ransomed. So I'm not active on those. It's a nightmare actually, but I have an amazing community and I'm still active on LinkedIn, Twitter, every other platform. And then so if you want to email me, it's Angela Maiers at Gmail. If you want to tweet me, it's at Angela Maiers. So it is consistent on every platform. And I would love, love, love to hear from you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. And guys, oh my
Thank you.
goodness, we're going to definitely have Angela back on to keep going with this. There's definitely going to be a part 2. I wish I had more time. I would just
Yes.
sit
No,
and we could do
absolutely.
this.
I know.
And really flesh out whatever ideas we've got. But no, thank you so much, Angela, for joining us. And thank you, viewers, listeners, for spending your
Yes,
time with us. It's so
absolutely.
valuable. We appreciate it. From What is Smart, we cannot wait for you to tune in next time for another amazing guest.
Yes.
We will see you on the next episode.